Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi. Excuse me. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. I'm Preacher Mars, host of the SOS, the Shout Out Show. Hope that you're having a wonderful Wednesday. I'm very happy to be back. I'm very happy to be talking about the topic tonight, which is build your business right now. Here's how. Um, this conversation actually comes from a couple of spirited conversations that I had with my older cousin about the trends, if you will, in entrepreneurship, particularly in the Black community. How are we thinking and looking at some of the numbers, particularly coming out of COVID, particularly after we had stimulus money and things like that? How many Black businesses are still in business? A lot of people don't understand that a lot of Black businesses did not receive some of the economic aid that came out. A lot of Latino businesses didn't, a lot of Black businesses didn't. Stimulus money was not necessarily business loans. So there are some people that apply for SBA and things like that and got it in terms of economic disaster funds. But for the most part, there's a come to Jesus moment when you're doing a business, and when you're black in an entrepreneurial situation, it's not much different from anybody else, but there is a bit of a cultural imperative in terms of how we have to buffer our businesses, even more so. How do we reinforce business infrastructure to last? You know, we have a lot of businesses, a lot of great ideas, don't get me wrong. Wonderful ideas. The issue is, what are we doing in terms of sustainability with black businesses? This is really, really important because generationally, what we're seeing is a lack or a reduction of black businesses, and our children and generations are not seeing us as productive proponents in the larger scope of business funnels. We're not doing the banking as much as we did. Black insurance companies don't exist like they did back in the day. You know, we have a lot of intellectual property that's out there, but we're not, I want to say, properly engaging, properly investigating the things that are beautiful for us. This story, if you will, brings to mind a couple of things. Um, One of my favorite musical heroes. One of my favorite musical heroes, and I'll tell you why he's a hero to me. There's really three of them. One is Ray Charles, one is Stevie Wonder, and one is Prince, and the other one is Michael Jackson. That's four. What all of these guys have in common is they understood business and nomenclature so they could do something a lot of us don't do. And this is why it's important to build your business right now. What they did was they introduced the idea of owning your masters. That when you have palatable ideas, valuable ideas, what's really, really important is that you have to protect that idea. Okay? We are, in terms of black culture, we're a debtor culture because people teach us everything about debt, but they don't teach us about plus some finance. What do I mean? We got credit to death. But what is credit? Credit just basically emphasizes that we wanted something, we didn't have the resources to get it, so we entered into a debt situation to get that. That house, that car, even though a house is a wonderful situation, and it's a great situation because you can get equity, because a market is going to have a calibration in terms of value. So if you keep a house for a number of years, that accrual means that there's going to be equity in the house. You can't get equity in anything else outside of stocks and bonds and things like that, which require a different type of nomenclature, and that's a different type of conversation. But we want to definitely talk about today building your business right now. Here's how. And I'm going to share with you some of the things that I did in the context of business. Now, not all of them were necessarily to build a brick and mortar business. Work with me here. I'm creative. Sometimes it's building a model, if you will, that can take advantage of certain trends that I'm seeing. You know, everybody might be going this way. Sometimes you go that way just to go that way, just to understand the flow and then break off and do your own thing. I believe that the African American community has been doing this for hundreds of years. Not just in the business of being entrepreneurs, I'm talking about freedom, equity, justice. These are business infrastructure, and this is why I say this. The Civil Rights Bill and things. These are business documents that make sure over a period of time that we have fairness. Now, you have people who may try to, I guess, dismantle these things, but understand the brilliance and the genius of what they are. They did something that nothing else can do, or no one else has been able to do, which is change things culturally that allow for business growth. So I want everybody to take a break. We're gonna come back here in a moment. I'm gonna give a shout out to my shout out family. I see they're in the building, but I want you to start thinking about building your business right now. Here's how. In fact, I rarely say this. Go get a pen and a paper because I'm going to ask that you take notes tonight. Get a pen and a paper because I'm going to ask you to take notes tonight because you are probably like me in some aspects of my life at certain points in time where I left a lot of money on the table because I just didn't have the right information. Or I left a lot of money on the table because people were telling me, do this, do that. And here's the idea about business. When you're doing good business, particularly when you're an entrepreneur, when you're doing good business, a solid business, the core of that is you set out understanding that you are going to be disruptive. And disruptive business is good business because you are setting yourself up to frame a trend. You're setting yourself up to influence other things that are out there. That's when you know that you're doing solid business. This is Preach Monster Shout Out Show. We'll be right back. Don't you move. Get that pen and paper. We'll be right back. Let's roll. All right, everybody, we're back. So listen, um, let me frame this for you really, really effectively. If you have your pen and paper, um, you need to write these things down. If you don't have your pen and paper, go get it. We're gonna give a shout out to stars in the building. We're gonna give a shout out to Sister Ree. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Sister, I'll be giving you a ring later tonight, inshallah. Hope you and Derek and Brother Jawan are doing well in the great city of Humboldt, Texas. Want to give a shout out to Johnny L. Thomas, my little brother. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi. Excuse me. Wa alaikum assalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I've been playing pickleball, so I need some water. What's going on, little brother? Appreciate you, man. I want you to watch this show too because we talk business all the time. And we want to say, wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi barakatuh, my main man, Altaf Rashid, our Canadian envoy to the show. What's going on, Mr. 6 o'clock, straight up, straight down. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you. And we're going to give a shout out to Sister Satana Whitfield, executive producer. She wasn't here with us last week, but we showed a lot of love. Sister Satana, you weren't here last week, but we shouted you out. We knew you in the building. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much. Let's get to the business at hand. Hey, wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My main man, attorney Talib Kareem. What's going on, beloved? Thank you so much for tuning into the show. I hope you're doing well, man. Peace and blessings to you and your family. Let's talk soon. So let me get into this thing about build your business right now. Let me explain to you the perspective that I'm coming from. I'm giving you a historical perspective. We talked about this last week. I'm giving you a historical perspective in the context of understanding history. That when you are successful as a black person in business, I'm sorry, white supremacy, whatever you want to call it, they're going to look to either copycat your business or take your business from you. Long thought was African Americans at the turn of the century, 20th century, they say 80% of African Americans were below the Mason-Dixon line, and they migrated north for jobs. No, what needs to be said is that people who came out of slavery were farmers. They were into agriculture. And what happened was when they became successful in agriculture, people and laws and Jim Crow essentially took their land. They couldn't stay down there. And the only way you can stay down on that land is if what? You worked the land for somebody else. You know, you grew the land. It was a sharecropping deal. You were suckered. That's what it comes down to. You were suckered. Let me throw this out. There are people who came from down south up north, understanding that this was the experience that they had down south. Now, they found other avenues thinking that even up north, the same thing could happen. Therefore, you had things, brothers and sisters, like Black Wall Street. You had things that happened even before, right, particularly right after slavery. You had the black enterprises in Durham, North Carolina, and things like that. And we've talked about this. But there was a wellspring of people who began to understand, and this is how I got taught. I got taught that initially you have to think like a farmer. You have to understand that you have to grow things. If not growing crops, fruit, or vegetables, you have to learn to grow things in the concrete. You have to drop seeds in the concrete and grow things. That is the nature of Black entrepreneurial spirit. We grow things where other people cannot grow things. Latinos grow things where Latinos do things we laugh, but you know what? They are very successful at a certain point in time. Other people come to our country, they're here for a couple of years, and they're very successful. He said, well, why does that happen? I'll give you a brief analogy of why that happens. We're taught the slow road of economics. Let me say it again. We're taught the slow road of economics. And the road of economics that we're taught is from a consumer perspective. That we look for people to sell us product at whatever price, and we don't understand that there's a marketplace for this stuff. That you can get something retail or you can get a wholesale. And the wholesale price is always different from the retail price because the wholesale price is based upon the fact that I can look at demand at a particular level, not as a consumer, but as somebody who is a business entity or somebody that can take this product and make money. So our relationship begins there. So let's talk about build your business right now. The first thing you need to do is you need to invest. Pay attention. The first thing you need to do is invest in business cards. Something that says your name on it, where you can be contacted, websites, whatever, social media, but you need to have something with your name on it. I'm not even saying your business. I'm saying your name. Why? Because your name has value. Understand whatever you want to attach to your name, entrepreneur, lawyer, doctor, consultant, garbage, man. It doesn't matter because people respond to what they think is value. When you give somebody a card, it's not just giving them a card anymore. You have to be selective with who you give your card to. When you give people a business card, they reflect that this business. They're going to ask you what it is you do. And at that point, you're able to tell them, this is what I do. I learned a couple years ago, well, not so many years ago, when my cousin was starting his business. He had a lawn care business. It's flourished, and he's had it for, I want to say, easily 20 years. But when we sat down and talked, he said, I need to borrow some money. I said, okay. I said, what is it? He said, it's a lawn care business. I said, all right. I said, what do we need to do for your lawn care business? He said, I need to buy lawn mowers. Not rider mowers, not the scoop, little thing. He said, I need lawn mowers. I said, okay. I said, what is it that will distinguish your job away from other people? He said, I collect the grass after I cut it. I said, this is what you're going to do. I said, I'm going to give you X amount of dollars for 2 lawnmowers. He said, why 2? I said, because you need to let people know that you're in different parts of the town at the same time. This is Danville, Virginia. I said, and here's the other thing. You need shirts to let people know, 1, that you're the boss, 2, that the job is going to get done. And what he did was, and I thought it was pretty ingenious, He had three shirts. One was a work shirt that had his business name on it. The other one was sort of like a hoodie that you could wear around town. And the other one was, and this is really important, a shirt with a collar on it. And he would go and set the appointments. He would knock on people's door and set the appointments. Why is that important? Because it costs him nothing to do a business call, to leave a flyer, to ask people what they need in terms of service. He may not get the call then. He may not get the job then. But all of a sudden, on a block of 10 people who experienced random grass cutting, he presented something that was organized. And people remember, and what happened was he may have 2 lawns on the block, but now he had 5. Then he had 6. And then he moved into commercial stuff. And what he did was, after he paid the money back, he put the money back on his equipment, his capital costs and equipment. So let's talk about capital costs and equipment. What is it that you need to start your business? Literally, what is it that you need to start your business? Talib is on here. Talib is an attorney, a very good attorney, Muslim brother, very good attorney. You know, to be a good attorney, this is me conceptually thinking, you have to try cases. To be a great attorney, you have to try cases. People have to see some type of record, whatever it is you're doing, that evidences what you won, what you lost, what you stood for, and the narrative grows. That you become this kind of lawyer, whether it's a personal injury lawyer, whether it's a civil rights lawyer, whether it's an EEOC lawyer like my aunt. And what happens is, it's the cases and the experience and the narratives. Great lawyers have great narratives. Who are some of the lawyers we remember? We remember Johnny Cochran. If it doesn't fit, you must have quit. You must have quit. And I always laugh at that. I said, because he was doing business during OJ's trial, but he stopped to understand that, 1, people were watching. 2, he had a different way of being able to engage. And 3, and this is very important, in that space, he was able to change culture. He was able to change culture. In terms of your business, let me ask you this. Do you want to be good or do you want to win? Let me ask that question again. In terms of your business, do you want to be good or do you want to win? Do you want to be competitive or do you want to win? You know, being competitive is on the way to winning. So when you're trying to build your business, ask that question. Write it down. Do I want to be competitive or do I want to win? Because you want to be competitive, you're going to do what everybody else does. If you're going to win, you have to figure out conceptually how you're going to distinguish yourself from everybody else. How are you going to build your brand away from everybody else? Are you thinking? Okay, good. The second thing that you have to understand, everybody has an idea. Everybody can have the same idea. I want to open a store. I want to sell shoes. I want to do food. But here's the difference. Everybody doesn't have the same execution. If you're able to, in some regards, step back and creatively look at what a marketplace presents for you, or what it could be, or how you can turn the marketplace. Remember, this business that you're trying to do needs to be disruptive, because disruption is what drives competition, and it defines what kind of consumer base you're going to have. You know, if you think about disruption, think about iPhone. Think about iPhone. Think about the evolution of iPhones, the evolution of Mac computers. You know, and what was it? Oh my God, Satana, what was the little thing you used to have? iPod. If you look at the evolution of the iPod, every time they turned out the iPod, it was with the understanding that it was going to be more disruptive than the last time. If you have computers and you do updates, updates reflect that this is a disruptive model. You know, I had the one time I had a Mac computer and I didn't know anything about updates. And at one time the whole computer locked up. And I remember I took it to Apple, and Apple's like, "Have you done the updates?" And I'm like, "What's an update?" Right? Go ahead and laugh at me. I was like, "What's an update?" Like you, these are the things you need to do. I had no idea. I was just using the computer, doing my editing, and the guy said, "Let's do the updates." I had not done an update, and it took him 3.5 hours to do my updates. The guy was like, "Go shopping someplace and come back." And I began to understand why these updates were important because they kept my computer competitive with all the other stuff that was going on out there. Now, what if you are the person that can provide your own updates? Building a business right now is it's I say here's how you do it. Number one, issue yourself to be uncomfortable. Don't try and do your business and be comfortable. Go to places where or conversations or conventions or webinars or wherever and ask difficult questions for your value, for your behalf. Challenge people. People forgot in terms of business, you have to challenge people to buy your product. I'm in a business, there's a lot of comedians in my business. Some are high up, some you never heard of. But let me tell you this, there's some comedians you never heard of. They're millionaires. They're millionaires. They live in big houses. I've seen them. They call me. We talk. And here's the thing. And I said, why are they millionaires? I have a good friend of mine. He's a showrunner. I said, why do you think he's a millionaire? And one, he said, one, I realized that what I was doing, he said, I couldn't be successful doing the same thing. He said, so one, I had to change the way I was doing it. And at some point in time, walk away from it. You knew it was going to be over there. Stand up was going to be over there. But there's this thing over here that has a wide open opportunity for me to do it. So I'm saying, as a part of this business thing, how begin with discernment as well. Study your market. Oh, hey, what's going on, brother Roberto? Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, beloved. How you doing? So I'm going to say, study your market. Take a month and a half to study markets. What's going to happen is when you watch it after 2 weeks, you're going to see where people, we say metaphorically, leave money on the table. When people leave money on the table, which really not even money, it's ideas, I snatch them up. I used to go watch comedians back in the day, not to steal material, because I don't need to steal material, but I would watch and look at the wealth of material they didn't explore, concepts they didn't explore. Literally, I would watch them, great, really, really good comedians, sell themselves short because they didn't understand, one, how to write. Just investing in how to write, brothers and sisters, is a business. I'll be honest, I made a lot of money off of comedians who couldn't write. They couldn't write for TV shows. They couldn't really write for their sets. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of calls I used to get for guys who were doing TV sets because all of a sudden they realized, man, my set's not that strong. When you you put it on TV, broadcast television back in the day, had to be clean. They were like, man, without the profanities. I'm like, no, of course we could fix this. Move this here, move this there. And guess what I got every time? I check. You were constantly doing business. Don't associate doing business with just making money. Do not solely associate doing business with solely I am making money. That is not it. When you're an entrepreneur, you may not make money for the first 2, 3, 4, 5 years. You may lose money. You may lose money before you start turning a profit. Well, that's the entrepreneurial mind. Now people go, oh, well, what am I going to do? I didn't tell you to quit your job. I didn't tell you to quit your job. I didn't tell you to move out your mama's basement. I didn't tell you any of that. What I told you was get a business card. A business card. Let people know that not only what you do, where you do it, but who you are is valuable. and they should know you, and they keep your card, and you tell them. Sometimes when you give people a card, don't even release it till you tell them what you do, and then let it go, and then let the card go. I'm going to say this because it's really, really important. Stop giving away your ideas. I run around, I run into a lot of people who've given away great ideas because silly things like, "Will nobody give me no money?" Listen, brother, I know guys who've held on to great ideas and have money, and when they got money, they funded it and they were incredibly successful. And the problem is, don't think that you're going to build $1 million business with $1 million. You're not going to do it. Nobody knows you. Ain't nobody writing you a check for $1 million. Be real. You want to build $1 million business, you're going to have to go find $1,000 and learn how to manage $1,000 into $10,000. I learned so many aspects of show business watching other comedians do big shows and realizing they were small economies. The tour manager, the tour manager, the PR person, the marketing guy, the social media guy, and every time entertainment was creating all of these jobs, and the reason why they create all these jobs because they understand the marketing is highly volatile, and the next person that comes down could change this thing totally. Think about before Chappelle did the Chappelle show. There was nothing out there that was particularly disruptive. He becomes disruptive when it's an intersection of social media, the age of engagement. His show was a very socially engaging show. Live audience, audience watching in on a live audience watching skits. That's what it was. That's literally what it was. Let me tell you again. It was an audience watching a live audience watch skits. We're going to take a break real quick. We'll be back. Don't you move. We're talking about build your business right now. Here's how I'm Preacher Moss on the Shout Out Show. We'll be right back. Yeah, so my first, I guess, introduction to convenient urgent care, they were providing masks and supplies for people who didn't have supplies during COVID. And I went to pick them up and was going to take them around to some of the local areas. And I ran into a brother named Ijaz Saeed. And as I began to talk to Ijaz, it was very, very clear that this brother had a vision for community service. Oftentimes, when you have urgent cares in a situation that they're not necessarily doing a prevention or education. He came up with the term "a home of the smart patient," and I understand what that means. It means that people really want to be in tune about their health, but at the same time, they also want to be in tune about the people who are providing health. This is a very organic relationship. And little did I know, a year or so later, I would actually have to call on their services when I was in dealing with some physical trauma, if you will. And I have to say, they held my hand and they took me through the process. The offerings of telehealth, the offerings of being able to walk in consistent. I was in pretty bad shape, but they treated me like I was the president of the United States, not that one, Obama. Okay, I'm joking. But what I want to say is the professionalism, the dedication, the care, compassion, and the consistency, all the things I just named, makes convenient urgent care the space you want to go to. 3 locations in the Houston area: Cypress, Pasadena, and Parker Road in Houston. But I want to say the overall conceptual understanding of convenient urgent care is that they care for their patients, even when the patients don't know how to care for themselves. Check them out. All right, we're back. Listen, I want to take just a quick moment to acknowledge the passing of Sister Shirley Muhammad, the wife of Imam Morphy Muhammad. Uh, she's just a mother to the community, and I think we need to pause a little bit. This is a tough L. This is a tough loss, and I'm gonna get back to building your business because people like Sister Shirley Muhammad, Imam Morphy Muhammad, they talked about building businesses, community life, social life, economic life. these are things that they lived, and I want to say they lived it at a time where there wasn't equity in the marketplace for housing. There wasn't equity in the marketplace for building your business. These are people who grew in the first and thrived in the first, and it's indicative of our success because those wins or those victories show us the way, give us a pathway. And I want to also say that on a personal note, that family has been a beautiful family and a very remarkable narrative in terms of African American Muslims in Islam, but also African Americans, people who contribute to the culture. Because I think we need to start talking more about the vitality and the vitality and the I want to say the really really vital nature of African Americans, African American Muslims, uh, immigrant Muslims, immigrants, and how we are kind of tied in this space because these are the examples a lot of people follow. A lot of folks don't want to say that, and that's fine, that's cool, but I'll say it. So we pray for her and her passing and her family. We all know if you've been in this community long enough, you know somebody from the WD Muhammad family. So just want to throw that out and respectfully, I'm going to ask everybody please make dua for her in this life and the next, and also for her family because the loss of uh, an elder is difficult. I can't tell you about the loss of a mom. I can't do that. I can tell you about the loss of a father. So it's very, very tough. And when we have community leaders, also, Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan lost his son recently. So you begin to understand, um, you know, time doesn't wait for anybody. Time doesn't wait for anybody. So, so let me get back on what we were talking about. There's not a lot of time to do this. I talked about building your business. I said one, get a business card. You can build your own business card. Thanks to Sister Satana, I can make my own business card on Canva. I can make layouts on Canva. But no, Satana, don't laugh. She's laughing at me because there was a time I would never do it. There was a time where I called Satana and go, I'm waiting on you, and I know it's frustrating because one, I'm a creative, and what happened was I started monkeying around and playing around with it, and I realized basically Satana was pushing me in another pathway to do business. Why? Because there are people who need product. There are people who fear not having the right product. We're going to talk about that now. There's a thing out there called FOMO. I like to talk about business FOMO. FOMO means fear of missing out. Satana now feel real hip, right? But FOMO is not new. FOMO is an example and an anxiety that we all have of missing money, of missing trends, and things like that. And it's even more elevated because we live in this age of social media. However, brothers and sisters, there's a backside to FOMO. And the backside for creative is that we can create the trends. We can make people go through FOMO, and that's what it is when you do business. People buy from you, they purchase from you because they realize that there's a benefit to your product, there's a benefit to this exchange or transaction, and therefore people want to do business with you. Yes, so and so may have good oud oil over there, but somebody over here has amazing oud. The difference may just be in the packaging. The difference may be in the packaging, but even the difference in the packaging, you recognize the difference. I have a friend who owns a perfume. I had him on, Jordan Richter. Jordan Richter, guess what? He makes most of his money with non-Muslims. He makes most of his money with non-Muslims. He advertised on Etsy. You remember the commercial he did, or we did for Tarifa Altar? People, way back when we were doing business, he was doing business on his platform. We were doing business because we made the ad. And I'm like, if we are cognizant, and I want to say Stay close to your success. I'm not saying wallow in it, but stay close to your success and be critical, especially when you're successful. Be critical. Call out the small mistakes, call out the little things that could have been tweaked, and celebrate not the success. Celebrate that you can elevate from the success, that you can evolve from the success. I'm saying, brothers and sisters, your success is fleeting. The moment you're successful is moving away. People say I can repeat this success. It's very, very difficult. Cycles happen. When we started doing this show, brothers and sisters, if you ever watched the first episode of the ShOUT show, you'll go, well, damn, what were they doing? I had a computer and I had them. Remember, I used to try and do the 2 camera shoot, one with the computer, one with my iPhone. Well, people laughed at me, and that's cool. But I'm like, here's the deal. I'm thinking. Why am I thinking? I said, because we're in a broadcast medium. I have a background in broadcast journalism. What we understood and what was taught to us is that you have to be able to talk to people. I make money understanding that there's different modalities of communication. Satana makes money because there's different modalities of communication. You, brothers and sisters, can also understand that there's communication when you're talking about commerce, a currency. Someone asked me to look over some copy that they have written for advertising. And I looked at it and they said, well, how's it look? I said, well, what are you doing? They're paying me to consult. I said, here's the problem. You wrote a newspaper ad, you wrote a newspaper ad, but you did it in a TV way. So what does that mean? It means that when people are talking or taking in your advertising, they look at it differently. They're not hearing and engaging the way it should. What you wrote is not for TV, it's for radio. It's for the newspaper. Understand the different nuances. When you are trying to build your business, understand the nuances. And this is something I want to spend a little bit of time on. Understand the nuances. If you ever want to get an understanding of nuances, go to your local grocery store, right? Go to local store and go to the cereal section. Go to the cereal section. Take out your phone and click the cereal section. Mark down every cereal that's there. Come back a week later, take another picture, and compare two things. Number one, the cereals that are there, and number two, where the position of the cereals are. When you build your business, understand that what you have to offer is relevant to the marketplace. It's two things you have to understand. Where's my market? And that's number one. And number two, when I get there, what do I do? When you get to the marketplace, you have the intention, of course, being disruptive. Why? Because you're competition. You are competition. But how do you enter the marketplace? Are you trying to evolve what you do? Are you trying to change the culture? Do you feel like you have a product or a service that people are willing to pay for, that you can demand a market price for? A lot of times people get into business and realize that you're in the wrong market. That's why you're not successful. You heard me talking about my friend Jordan Richter. You know what sets Jordan Richter apart? And I said it to him. It's not the oils or the quality of the oils. The oils are good. It's the packaging. It's the packaging. You go in New York City outside the Apollo, they give you a bottle of oil. They don't have no label on it. And there it is. You go to Etsy for his oil for Tarifa Attar. It comes in a case. It's got the names of the oils. All of them have metal tops on them. All of them have the roll. I mean, I'm giving you the narrative. And these are the things that increase consumer discernment. I want to be treated a certain way. I'm going to talk to the Philly folks here for a minute. My good friend, my big brother, man, Lobby Please, with Reginald Kitchen, was from North Philly, Montgomery Avenue. We would drive sometimes doing gigs, doing shows, not shows, but doing gigs, working with the community. And when we would come through Maryland, he would damn near break my neck if I didn't stop at a Wawa. Started laughing. I don't know what it is with black folk in Wawa, but we love Wawa. I'm no different. There's a Wawa right around the corner from my house. What are the aspects of a Wawa as opposed to a 7-Eleven? They have the same things, right? They have, you can get you get your little drink, you can get your little tea or whatever, get your little water. But in the middle of every Wawa is a component and a pathway for you to get fresh food. 7-Eleven cannot compete with Wawa on fresh food. And it only got worse when Wawa said, listen, you don't even have to come to us. Go to the kiosk and make your own sandwich. Make your own sandwich. You can even do Uber Eats or DoorDash and make your own sandwich at Wawa, and they will deliver it to you. I wasn't feeling good a couple of days ago. I was like, I'm hungry. I don't want to go out. I made a sandwich, an egg sandwich with pepper jack cheese at Wawa and got a half gallon of sweet tea. I know there's a lot of sweet tea, but what's my point? I couldn't go to 7-Eleven because 7-Eleven can't compete that way. Ooh, what you saying, Preach? 7-Eleven can never make the pivot. And if they made the pivot, everybody's going to say, you just trying to be like Wawa. What am I saying? Wawa wins. And Wawa has gas. They sell gas. 7-Eleven doesn't sell gas. Right? But my point is, Wawa figured out something in the engagement business where you might get a piece of chocolate or something, but in the middle of the Wawa is an opportunity to get a fresh sandwich. And you get to put your sandwich together, and two, you get to watch it. It's almost like a Chipotle gas station. When you go to Chipotle, what are you doing? You're watching them put your food together. They don't change the options of the food. Neither does Wawa. But I like Wawa. Wawa has salads. Wawa has hot sandwiches, cold sandwiches. And if you look at it, basically it's just an extension of a call system or a call center, and it's just giving you choices. Ain't nothing changed, right, Satana? You're going to either get chicken, you're going to get some ham, you're going to get some beef, and you might get some veggie stuff, but ain't nobody, that Wawa doesn't do fish. I just want y'all to know that. When they do fish, I think black people are going to just move into Wawa. But here's my deal. Somebody figured it out. Somebody said we're going to make a gas station called Wawa. Somebody said, what's the discerning thing for people when they come in here? They can get gas. You can get a quick drink. But you can get a fresh sandwich and you can get it quickly. When I go to Orlando, there's a Wawa that I frequent. I'm not afraid to say it. I go to that Wawa and I get the sandwich I want after the show, and I'm a happy guy. We're talking about build your business. What's your Wawa plan? What are you planning to do to be disruptive? I'm going to give everybody exercise. You're in New York City in front of the Apollo Theater. Someone is giving you the rights to sell something in front of the Apollo before the show and after the show. What are you going to put on your table to sell to people? Is it going to be seasonal? Is it going to be souvenir? Is it going to be engagement? Are you selling product for other people? Are you marketing for other people? Sometimes you don't even need your own product. You can go to people and go, I can market your product better than you can, and they will pay you. Consulting, and I tell people this all the time. I don't know if Talib is still on here, but consulting is essentially telling people I can these aspects I understand better about your business than you do, but I'm willing to tell you about your business and you'll pay me a small fee or a large fee, doesn't matter. Me personally, I'm not in the comedy business. I'm in the information business. I made that switch years ago. Telling jokes is okay if I just want to tell jokes. I tell jokes to get me into other aspects of business. So I tell jokes so that maybe in a year or two, instead of me going and doing your show, maybe I do 10 or 15 shows. Maybe I have a 20, 20, 30, 40, 50 show contract and you're paying me in a blanket space instead of me doing one thing. I've sat down with you and we talked, and now you've cut me a check for $50,000 as a deposit, and the other $50,000 comes at the end of the show. Now you're beginning to understand what this money is. And let me emphasize this really, really well. Let me emphasize this. It's really, really important. Stop listening to people who don't do business. Stop listening to people who don't do business. God love them, but if you're in a 9 to 5 and I'm trying to be an entrepreneur, there's very little we can talk about. Let me move to this last part because I don't want to leave this out, and it ties in. Let's talk about financing your ideas. I learned early in life, and many of you learn early in life, there's some needs and then there's some costs. Some, SUM, not SOME. Some needs and some costs. That, as perfect as we are, we need something. That life is not set up. Life is set up in an ecosystem to do business. There's a great story. There's a really good book called The Great Transformation by Carl Polanyi. And I would suggest if you get a chance, read it. I read it. And there's a part where they talked about 10th century or 11th century Europe. At that point in time, brothers and sisters, we talk about black folk being farmers. These people were farmers too. There was no hard commerce, and everybody had to do the same thing. I'm selling sheep, you're selling sheep. I'm selling chickens, you're selling chickens, because everything was a regional market. This is not the international marketplace that we have now. It's not global. They tell a story of a stream, and everybody would come. Pay attention; it's really important. Everybody would come to the stream to have their animals drink water, right? So you bring your sheep and your lambs and whatever and your cows, and you bring them to this thing for everybody, so they could drink water, because you didn't have pipe water. You might have a well, but you didn't have internal water. So you have to walk your animals to this watering hole. Walk your animals to this watering hole. This particular time, they said they got to the watering hole and it was different because someone had put a fence around the watering hole. Someone had put a fence around the watering hole. And the people who came there were confused. Who would put a fence around? And the thing is, you can't slide your sheep through the fence. And the person said, well, this is my watering hole. Why am I saying this? Because there was no such thing as, land, deeds, as we presently known. Somebody just said, I'm going to put a fence around it. And by putting a fence around it, I have established value. And so when the other farmers would come to bring their stuff, they say, well, what do you have of value? They say, I don't have anything. They say, well, let me get one or two of those sheep. And they be like, you out of your mind. Well, you got 100 sheep. You got to water. You have to have 100 sheep water. I'm saying you can have 98, but you're going to give me 2. That is the beginning of the barter thing. But more importantly, It's the beginning of rent. Rent. So this principle that we have, and let me speak to uh, the reality. We have a reality where we're told that we're not smart with money, and people, and I've seen it before. That we're not smart with money. Black people aren't smart with money. Women aren't smart with money. The Latinos aren't smart with everybody who's trying to get money. Honestly, all of a sudden, is not good with money. The people that steal, all of a sudden, they're good with money, or that they have a right to take from us. Here's my point: you don't have to be good with money. You have to be clear with money. You have to be intentional with money. You don't necessarily have to be good with money. Okay? Be intentional about what you're purchasing. Be intentional about what you save. Be intentional about what you invest in. Transparency. Telling people that this is what I'm going to do. This pocket of money is going to be for X, Y, and Z. When you build your business, people don't understand you don't just get to get a car. You're going to have to build parts of that car in that frame. You got to get a frame. You got to get tires. And along the way, you're going to have to talk to people who provide tires, who provide uh, hoods for cars and engines. And what you have to do is immerse yourself in that system. You can be like the person, if you are consistent, you can be like the person that just put up the gate. That's your idea. And when people want to engage your idea, they got to pay to come through that gate. You've got to let them know, hey, you want to come? Here's my card. Here's my business card. I told you that at the beginning. Here's my card. What's your card for? I do X, Y, and Z. I learned one of the hustles is before you give somebody a card, you know what? My friend, he doesn't put what he does. He just puts his name on the card and a number. Now, I thought it was the craziest thing in the world. He said, no. He said, by the time I talk to them, they remember the conversation more than what I do. I said, really? He said, yeah, they remember the conversation. I'm telling them what I'm doing. When they are out and they're thinking about me, they'll think about their card, but they're thinking about what am I doing? The card is just a reminder of the conversation. So I got a couple minutes here, and I'm gonna give you some quick tips about money. Pay yourself first. Pay yourself first. What I mean is, when you get your check, normally, this goes to mortgage, rent, this goes insurance, this goes here, da da da. Do what companies do first. They pay themselves first. You'll find that if you put away $300-400 and just say, "Hey, I'm gonna ride it out the rest of the month," what happens is you tend to hold on to that $300 or $400 if you know that you're building a business, because it's things that you can cut back on that have nothing to do with business. I used to like going to um, IHOP, and I tallied up what it was to go to IHOP, and I said, this is kind of ridiculous because what I spent at IHOP, I can get 2 bags of groceries. And what happened was I stopped going to IHOP. Then I found that I was keeping almost, just from IHOP meals, almost $200 on my books. And taking that money, being intentional about it, and putting it into something. If you ever get to see my setup for the ShOUT show, I have lights, I have this HD cam, I have a nice microphone. And Satana will tell you, we made money with this stuff outside of the ShOUT show. The ad that you saw for Convenient Urgent Care, who's been a long-time client for me, going back to right after COVID began, they've been a long-time client of mine. But there's also been other people, and I've been able to take these things and make small videos for here, make small videos for there. And here's the deal, and shout out to Satana, because with Canva, I don't get better. Without Canva, I don't get better. And I can say that I had to understand Canva as a part of a business expression. Not me piddling around doing this stuff, but a business expression. And as you get better, your business expression becomes more and more valuable. it becomes more and more valuable. And when you get into that space, brothers and sisters, and I want everybody in, hey, what's going on, brother? Hey, wa alaikum assalam for barakatuh. Big E, how you doing? He said, sorry I missed early. Oh, you got a job promotion? Alhamdulillah, brother. Oh, good for you. See, Eric's doing business. When somebody gives you a job promotion, they realize your value. They don't want you to leave. But let me wrap on this. The emotional, social, emotional, and spiritual aspect of building a business is nobody is going to pay you more than they make. Ain't nobody gonna pay you more than they make. You may watch NBA and you see big contracts going out. It don't mean nothing. They don't make more than the owner makes. Okay? You watch these movies and TV shows. Oh, that's great. The people in front of the camera, they don't make as much as the people behind the camera. You have to have the same mentality. When you are soliciting for clients, you have to put them in front of the camera. You're the one who has established the back end of your business, what you want it to be, anything from your pricing to your product packaging to your marketing and your PR. You've got to do that. I need you, just like I talked to you about the great transformation. I need you to take your idea, your market, and put a fence around it. Put a fence around it and make people pay you for your ideas. As a comedian, sometimes, well, as a consultant, forget being a comedian. As a consultant, I can tell you a lot of times the ideas that I sell to people they're not A-level ideas. They're B minus, C plus ideas because that's what I think is the marketplace for that particular client. I'm not going to give away A ideas if I got a C client. But it doesn't matter because the C client is going to pay for an idea if they think it's going to make them remotely better. I know that sounds harsh, but that's the business. So I'm going to get ready to get out of here. Oh, hey, I'm going to give a shout out to another entrepreneur, Maxine K. Esquire. She is leading financial independence for blacks. And oh my gosh, I don't know how I know the business. Oh, I forget it. But she runs. Well, she's not in that business anymore. She has a. I'm Maxine. You got to remind me of the new business, but we'll talk about it. I think we're gonna have her on too. I really want her back talking about annuities and things like that, particularly coming out of. Well, we're not all the way out of the recession yet, but I really want to talk about what it looks like in terms of investment and savings going on for the next 2 years into uh, political election year. So hopefully, inshallah, we can get around with that. So listen, I'm gonna get out of here. You guys have been amazing. Satana, if you can, just put up put up the email if people have questions about building a business right now, and I'm going to give away some free consulting advice. How about that? There you go. Contact us at permissibleafter@gmail.com. Until that time, build your business right now. See you guys next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much.